I'm going to present to you. There we go. Booyah. Why is that so low? Sorry, I'm all
You might play ball.
I'm just gonna close this.
Specifically, I'm just telling you straight up.
Okay. Oh, maybe because it's like- Sorry. Okay, so I'm actually working off of something you guys did this week that I got a lot of questions on via email. So if you tried it, you got credit for it. I believe it was Monday. You got this nice little sheet.
Yeah.
That was torturous.
So we are going to go through this. Our main goal today is we have these three forms. We need to be comfortable with, if we're given information, how to go from one form to the other, or if we're given points or slopes or anything, how do we get it into the form that we need? So basically, I'm going to do this because this is the one I get the most questions on. And it seems as though there were more questions out in the crowd here. So we'll start with 2 points and then we'll kind of work our way and go through some other forms and what the heck do we know and don't know and all that stuff. So I'm going to start with 2 intercepts. And P.S., everyone at the end of the period, whether you're in front of me or whether you are at home, I am going to be checking your notes. So that will I'll give you like a classwork grade today. So if you are at home, please make sure you're writing this down. And I will be checking you at the end. So from this information, we can do 4 things. We are going to find the slope. We can do that. We are going to write an equation in slope-intercept form. We are going to write an equation in point-slope form. Oh man, I might not have enough room. Oh no, I didn't. And we are going to write an equation in standard form. So you're probably thinking, man, we really don't have that much information. How are we going to write that much stuff? Because once you have one form, you can kind of move the things around and make it into other forms. So that's the nice part. I'm just making sure we can see. Okay, I think you should be able to see at home. But if you have any questions at home, or if you need me to, I don't know, stop or slow down or whatever, my chat is up. So feel free to throw it in the chat. So I start and I say, I have 2 points, slope, no problem. Good old slope formula. So that is something you do need to know. Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. What does that give me? -3 over -4. And the slope would be positive, right? Because a negative over a negative gives me a positive. So in that case, if I give you 2 points, you should be able to label the slope no prob. Any questions there? Okay. So now we need our forms. It doesn't matter which one we start with. You can start with whichever one you please. I'm going to start with slope-intercept form since I know the slope. And just as a reminder, when I'm talking about intercepts, this would be the y-intercept, right? Because when x is 0, your means are on the y-axis, and this is the x-intercept. So for slope-intercept form, I actually already have the intercept. I don't need to do any work. So my equation would be y equals 3/4 x up PS. Please make sure you know your forms. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Okay. Ooh, sorry, forgot about that. So I know m, we just found it. And I know b, because b is the y-intercept, and the y-intercept is 3. Done. So I like that one. There wasn't a lot of work. Point slope form. Pick a point and the slope. Okay, you have 2 points. Pick one of them. Doesn't really matter which one. I'll pick the first one. Y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. Once again, that's just knowing the form, so once again, I should rewrite it just to remind ourselves, because it's been a while. Pick a point. You could have also picked the other point, go for it, doesn't really matter. So if you said y minus 0 equals 3/4 x plus 4, also a perfectly fine equation. And last but not least is standard. Standard's kind of annoying because you can't really just plug into standard form. You're really going to use one of the other forms that you have and then rearrange it. So I'm going to start with slope intercept.
I hate standard.
I know standard's not my favorite either, but you know,
Why do you assign it then?
because I don't know.
It's just the worst.
Life assignment. I don't know. So the form is ax plus by equals c. So I'm going to start with slope intercept. Y equals 3/4 x plus 3. And I'm just going to remind myself, okay, for standard form, I need x and y on the same side. So I'm going to move this x over to the side that has y on it. Okay, so it's just really moving stuff around, rearranging. I get negative 3/4 x plus y equals 3. But there were two rules for standard form that we need to follow. The first is we cannot have fractions, which are decimals, but we have a fraction here. So I need to take care of that. And the second is we always want the first term to be positive. So I can take care of that in one step. The step is look at your fractions, we only have one, and multiply by the common denominator. Ours is just 4. And then if I ever want to change a sign, I can just make that a negative, and that will change my signs for me. So now as I multiply in, that would give me what? 3x minus 4y equals negative 12. What a beauty. And that, my friends, is how you would kind of do that. What we're noticing is a lot of times, especially with standard form, you really have to use another form and then move stuff around. So keep that in mind. I'm going to give you a few seconds because I know.
I'm good now. I know what I'm doing.
Oh, okay. Well, make
It's
sure.
just standard form.
Okay, make sure you're still writing everything. So I'm going to be checking you.
So if there was not a negative refraction, it would just be that first equation.
Exactly. Yep. So I'll give everyone a second. I know at home it's a little hard to, let's be honest, half of you were laying in bed. P.S. One of my other classes, my little fresh kids, at the end I was checking work and people just didn't respond to me, aka they fell asleep. They get a cut from class, so don't do that, okay?
Sucks to suck.
I don't know what that means, but that
It
doesn't
sucks to suck.
seem
It's self-explanatory.
okay.
Sucks.
All right. So please, you have to actually be coherent as well to get credit for being in class. But I'd like to give you a few extra seconds. All right. So that one wasn't bad. We started with points, with intercepts, and we kind of went and did some stuff from there. So the next one, we're going to start with different starting information. What do you want to do? You want, let's start with, no.
Oh, pass the pig but with Oh, I actually have a good idea. Jeopardy.
No.
But you have to do math problems.
Okay, that would require me to have Jeopardy made, which I don't, so it doesn't actually work.
Why can't you just look it up?
Because that's
Google has everything.
not how life works.
Is Tommy on there?
Yes.
Hi, Tommy. Can you hear me?
I don't know. Okay. I'm just seeing how much room I got. Okay, I'm gonna add over here
Vandals?
intercepts. Sorry, I should have just done that. Can you see that? Yeah, you can. All right, so these are kind of the 5 things we're dealing with. And the first one I've given you the intercepts. I'm just kind of writing it down there. So in this case, I'm gonna give you an equation, and the equation is in point slope form. So basically, I'm just using this chart thing. Okay, just do it right now. From that one equation, I can now find what's the equation in standard form, what's it in slope-intercept form, what is the slope, and what are the intercepts from that one little thing. What's the easiest thing to find?
Slope.
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 Oh, people were saying you're loud at home.
What?
They said you're loud
Who?
and annoying. Oh wait, I didn't say that.
Who?
They said it. No, it's okay. And then they said facts.
Who?
Facts. Well,
Who? Good.
I will not give anyone up at home. It's okay.
Say it.
I would say slope is easiest. So the slope of this one is 2. Okay, so we have 1/4 of our problem done. I can figure out a point, but it doesn't actually ask for that. I need specific intercepts. So just finding a point isn't going to really help me at this current moment. So I'm going to just like start with my other forms. I like going from point slope to slope intercept. So I start with my point slope and I rearrange it. I'm going to distribute in. And then I'm just going to isolate the y.
Wow.
There you go. You got slope intercept without too much work. Now, once I have slope intercept, I like to put that in standard because it's just kind of moving stuff around again. So once you have one form and it's just about putting in other forms. So now I start with slope intercept and I just remind myself, get my x and y together. So it's a -11. And then the one rule, there's 2 rules. There's no fractions or decimals, so we're good. But we can't have that be a negative, so we're going to multiply everything by -1. Okay, we're feeling better. That wasn't too bad, really just moving stuff around. But it does ask me for the intercept, so I want the x and y intercept. I actually already know the y intercept, right? The y intercept is right here from slope intercept form. So the y-intercept we could write as 0, -11. But I need to find the x-intercept. I'd probably go to standard form for this one. So even though I know we don't love standard form, I think it's the easiest to find the intercept from. So to find the x-intercept, I'm going to cover the y. I'm going to do this like awkwardly. If 2x equals 11, that means my x-intercept is 11/2. Yeah. Once again, if you had done the same thing, you would have seen that the y was -11, which we kind of already knew. And now we have all of our information. Okay, so I'm always going to give you a few seconds at the end just to kind of get caught up, write it down. If you ever have a question, feel free to shout it out or just throw it in the chat. Hold on, why am I so confused? Why am I in here? Oh, because I'm in 3 times. Okay.
Oh yeah, I know who said the probe one. That was definitely Thomas.
Yeah.
Who said the other one?
I can't tell you.
Mason.
Confidentiality.
Is Mason in here?
This is math class.
I don't know who that is, so no.
Paige? No way the Ginger's talking.
Shh.
Hashtag roast.
Shh.
What?
Enough. Okay. So we are going to do the same idea. Once again, we're talking about kind of these 5 things, slope and intercepts and then different forms. Can you be given one thing and then find the other stuff from it? Ooh, let's start with the standard form. I'm so excited. Okay, so I'm just kind of keeping those up as my labels. Let's start with standard form. So our equation is going to be 6x plus 24y equals 18. Okay, so that's the only thing that we know right now. And then from that, we have to label everything else. What's the easiest thing to find from standard form?
The slope.
Y-intercept.
The intercepts. Okay? Because remember, if I just look at ax plus by, because see, I don't know what m is, so that's always kind of the issue. But the intercepts we can find without too much trouble. To find the x-intercept, you're gonna basically just cover the y or plug in a 0 for y. You end up with 6x equals 18, so the x-intercept would be 3. So we're gonna write that as 3 comma 0. To find the y-intercept, same step, you just plug in a 0 for x. What would that give me? 18 over 24, which would reduce to 3/4. So 0 comma 3/4 is my y-intercept.
Oh, yeah.
And now the slope.
Okay. Now, once you have 2 points, you can go back and do your thing and do the slope formula. If you want to do any of that stuff, go for it. I'm actually not going to do that. It looks kind of annoying with that fraction there, and I don't really want to deal with it. So what I'm going to do is start with standard form, and I'm going to rearrange it to slope intercept. So I'm going to go to slope intercept. I'm going to take my standard form. Remember, we can move things around however we please. That's the beauty of algebra. Was your hand up, or was I just making that up? Oh, I hope you're writing it down, so at least you have credit.
No, he didn't write anything down.
It's literally all my paper.
Dude, there's nothing there. It's not mine.
All right. Now, for me to get something in slope intercept form, y equals mx plus b, I basically just need to isolate y. So I just have to move the other stuff. So I'm going to move the 6x. It's just kind of there by itself, so I'm subtracting it. I get 24y equals negative 6x plus 18. And then I can divide everything by 24. We actually did this in the beginning of the year. It was called literal equations, where we were just kind of moving stuff around in equations. That's exactly what this is. That's why we do that. Let's do a little reducing. 6 over 24, or negative 6, would be negative 1/4 x.
No.
Plus.
Did you say no?
Yes.
Well, we're just gonna keep going.
I think you question yourself.
And 18 over 24 is 3/4, right? Because we already knew that was intercept anyway. All right, so we have this. Okay, so I'm feeling better about life. And that makes sense because my y-intercept is 3/4, that's 3/4. But now I know my slope. And once again, just putting things in other forms kind of usually gets you the information that you need. And now that I have the slope and I have points, just pick one of these and you can do it in point slope. So I'll just use the first point. Y minus 0 equals negative 1/4 parentheses x minus 3. Or you could use the second point if you please. Once again, once you have one form, it's all about just rearranging to the others. All right, so I'm going to have you try the next one. Are there any questions at the current moment? Okay. So you guys are going to try this one. I'll give you a few more seconds just if you're writing anything down. Man, we have 20 minutes left. Okay, so here's your prob. I'm going to give you one of these, and you need to find all the other stuff from here. I'm going to give you an equation in slope-intercept form. It's y equals negative 2x plus 3. So that's the equation we're dealing with. From that equation, can you find the intercepts, x and y? Can you find the slopes? Can you write an equation in point slope form? And can you write an equation in standard form? You don't have to do them in any certain order. So whatever you think is easiest, do that first. But can you kind of take that information and use it to find other stuff? Whether you're rearranging, whether you're just like getting stuff out of there.
Honestly, probably not.
Okay, well, do your best. Okay, proud of you. I'm just taking attendance quick while you guys are putting attendance in quick. But feel free to interrupt if you need any help. I'm just checking
Dude,
people.
Who are you talking to?
Look at you.
Dude, you're talking to your new girl. Jax, throw me that. Throw me that. I was touching your phone. Dude, what are you saying?
All right, beautiful.
Keep going. Ah. Corvette.
So like another minute.
No, it's not mine, dude. I found it.
So we cheated.
Hey, mask above your nose.
Hood's off in school.
Different things.
Yeah.
That's for a pandemic. This is for
That's for
safety.
no reason.
It's cold in here.
This cold. Okay, let's go over this one. So the order, I'd probably do it, if you do it in a different order, that's fine. I'd probably find the slope first, because I know it, it's -2. I know where things are. I know one of the intercepts right now, I know the y-intercept is 0, 3. I'll need to find the x-intercept, but I don't know that at the current moment. I guess I could do point slope form with the points in that slope, so why not? Y minus 3 equals -2, x minus 0. Okay, so I'm actually almost done. The last thing I need to do is standard form, and I do need to find the y-intercept as well. So I usually just take slope-intercept and kind of move that around. So when I come over here, I would have y equals -2x plus 3. I would just add the 2x over here. And I would get 2x plus y equals 3. And that follows all the rules, so I don't need to do anything special to that one. The last thing I need is my x-intercept, because when it says intercepts, I only have 1. We know that the y-intercept was 3, but for the x-intercept, I cover the y. If 2x equals 3, that means that my x-intercept is 3 over 2, comma 0. And that, my friends, would be your final answer. Yeah.
For standard, at first I got -2x.
We don't care.
I care, and if you have a problem, you can
No,
see
it's
me
a
after class.
Frank.
Okay.
Oh, I got.
You sure?
Add.
Yeah, you'd have that. Any questions on that one? I'm gonna have you try one more on your own, and then there's one or two kind of tricky ones that I'll show you in the end. But then that gives you a better idea of what we're working with, and what you should have been doing. And if you were confused, hopefully this has been clearing some stuff up. Because technically it's all stuff we were doing, but sometimes it's hard to kind of put everything together. So I feel you. So I'm going to give you one intercept. Well, I'm going to give you the intercept of 0, 0. Which I guess technically is the x-intercept and the y-intercept. And I'm going to give you that the slope is -2/3. So a lot of times when we're doing problems, I'll give you 2 points, or I'll give you a point in the slope. So that's kind of the idea there. I'm giving you a point in the slope. So if I give you those 2 pieces of information, are you able to write your equation in 3 different ways? So that's
Yes.
okay. Well, then do it. Woo. So you're trying that one now, and then the other kind of tricky ones, I'll try with you in a minute. I just don't want to throw those at you with us having such weird kind of breaks this week. But just as a reminder, we're trying to be prepared for an assessment on Thursday. So just as a heads up. I'm just writing it down so I actually remember. And I'll give you more of an idea of what they'll look like on Tuesday. I think it's February 2nd, the term ends. Let me just do a quick check. Let's say 2 more minutes for that problem. See how far you get.
Did Tommy say hi?
He did. Oh, I can never find anything on this stinker.
Did Paige say anything?
I don't know. Sorry, I just want to find the exact date that the term ends. I don't think I would have this printed, but my honest, I did not think it was important. February 2nd. Okay. Oh, Groundhog Day.
And then being like a furry. Yeah, it's like a furry. With his paw, bro.
Yeah, just
All right. So you talking means I'm assuming we're done.
Basketball furry.
So slope-intercept form, we would write it as y equals negative 2/3 x plus 0. Or you could just write it as y equals negative 2/3 x, right? We assume there's a 0 there. And so usually I would just write it like that, but feel free to throw the 0 in if you want. That's actually a special type of equation called a direct variation. So a direct variation always goes through, we call it the origin, always goes through 0, 0. So it's just a fancy equation that goes to the origin. I can write that in point slope form. Why not? I have a point and a slope. So I would write it as y minus 0 equals negative 2/3 x minus 0. There we go. Exciting stuff. And then I would probably just take that slope intercept form. I'm going to put the 0 with it because I just think it makes a little bit more sense. And then I'll get my x and y together. So I would add 2/3 x. I would get 2/3 x plus y equals 0. And then I would say, well, the signs are okay, but I can't have that fraction. So everything would have to get multiplied by 3 to take care of that. And I would end up with 2x plus 3y equals 0. So just getting used to going back and forth. Once again, we've been doing the same steps. We're just kind of switching around what the original information is. Does anyone have a question with that problem?
Yeah, I have one question.
Oh yeah, what's up?
So for the slope intercept form one,
Yep.
so you don't need to put plus 0 there.
You don't need to, but if you did, I'd still mark it right.
Yeah, I think I did it on the edge elastic one, and then.
Yeah, the edge elastic's annoying. So if we like when we actually if we had an assessment on that, like I go in and check every individual answer. So even if I marked it wrong, like I would go in and mark it right. It's just it's very particular about how you write things, and like even in one of my other classes, like one person put a space in their answer, like you would think it's the same answer, it still marked it wrong. So on Edge Elastic, I always go in and check things over again, so don't worry too much about that. It's just kind of an annoying program, but one that we're dealing with. So, But yeah, either way that you write, it's fine with me. So don't worry too much about that one. Okay, so we'll just do like, actually, no, we'll do one more. I don't want to,
Pass the pig.
I don't want to deprive you. No, then I have to check everyone's notes. So I have to leave a few minutes.
I'll do it. It's fine.
Thanks anyways. Okay, so one more. This is one that like, if I looked at it, maybe I would think it was a little tricky, but I just want to show you a few things. Just how to rewrite things. So I'm going to give you one equation. We're going to say it's in slope-intercept form, and the equation is just y equals 4. You're probably saying, well, that's really, it doesn't look like slope-intercept form, but we can kind of come up with ways to remedy that.
No. I'm doing.
So when I say y equals 4, when I'm thinking about slope-intercept form, I'm really saying that y equals 0x plus 4, right? So just like with the other one, I say you don't technically need to write the 0, but sometimes we do just to kind of, for visual, just to remind ourselves. Same thing here. We technically didn't have to write that m with 0, but once we put it in, it just makes life a little bit easier. So once I see this, I know my slope. It's 0. Right now, I know my y-intercept is 0, 4. So I know a few things just off of slope-intercept form. I can write it in point slope form since I do know these two things now. So I would get y minus 4 equals 0 in parentheses x minus 0. So lots of zeros in there, which looks kind of weird, but we'll just kind of keep it for now. Now, if you think about this, there's really not much I can do for standard form either. So think about y equals 0x plus 4. If I move 0x, I guess I subtract it, but it's 0, so you're move it. Even if I have 0 over here, I don't really write zeros in my answer. They look weird. So actually saying y equals 4 is also in standard form. This is a special type of line. It's called horizontal. We're going to do a lot with horizontal and vertical lines next week into the week after, and talk about why their equations are special. Things like just writing y equals 4. What does that mean? We have one that's x equals, that's a vertical. But basically, we could get all the information we needed. It's just when we look at it, the slope, intercept, and the standard kind of look the same, but that's okay for this special type because it is a special line. So, I'm going to check everyone off quickly. So for the people here, I'm just going to come look at your notes quick. And for the people at home, just have your stuff ready and I will be with you in a moment. Thank you. Okay, so for the peeps at home, let me just stop this.